Ever feel like you're being watched? If easily triggered, please watch something else.
Fear of not being alone at home. I'm alone for a few days, and for some reason, I am terrified of not being alone. Like there is something lurking in the rooms I'm not in or right out of my field of sight. Does anyone have any idea of what I could do to prevent this, or how to not feel scared the entire time?
I have problem with being alone in darkness. I 18 male am not feeling comfortable in darkness when I'm alone in house. When I was in middle school, my close friends so obsessed with horror games, which we are not allowed to play legally, and horror movies. I remember when I go to my friend's house for playing The Forest with him. I freaked out when I see the scene of the plane crash, which is just start scene of the game, I guess. I wanted him to close the game and play something else. I think this is where my trauma started. I wasn't able to fall asleep without occupying myself, reading book, etc., which ended up with affected quality of my sleep. I'm better now. I can watch horror movies only if someone with me. I can read Stephen King's novels, etc. But I'm not feeling comfortable in darkness when I'm alone in house. To fall asleep, I'm turning on the TV, which makes me feel that I'm not alone in house. Any advices for getting over it?
Hello, I just wanted to vent a little bit about my experience with such an issue. I'll start by saying I'm 18 going on 19 years of age, and I still believe in mythical, scary monsters. Obviously, monsters aren't real, but my mind tortures me every single night with the thought, or when I'm alone. When I was a kid, I consumed my fair share of creepy pastas and XE horror tales, but ever since then, it's stuck. As a kid, these horrified me, and unfortunately, I can't shake the feeling that there's something coming, watching me, or hiding in my room or around a corner, and it drives me fucking insane. It leads to sleepless hours of my night to the point where I sleep under the covers most nights, because I think there's a monster stalking me outside the covers. Imagine how that feels to be stalked while you're trying to get comfortable, or trying to sleep but opening your eyes to make sure some uncanny creature didn't just spawn in the dark corner of my room. I'm not sure how long this will keep up, but I definitely want medical help. I deal with anxiety and depression, not diagnosed, so it's unfortunately fueling it. I'm just so tired of being terrified in my own room at night.
I have a fear of someone standing behind me and secretly watching me through windows at night. Hear me out. Whenever I'm alone at night, I have this fear that someone is standing behind me, like a psychopath trying to murder me. And when I feel like I have to turn around, I can't because I feel like if someone is there, I will have a literal heart attack. Also, I have a feeling that it's not just a normal human being, but a deformed creature, like a skinwalker, with big eyes and heavy breathing, huge teeth smiling at me. If I turn around and then look at it, it will kill me. I also fear someone is watching me through my windows. I just have the feeling someone is. I can't sleep at night because of it. I also fear that it's another deformed creature, and that it's pressing its slimy face against my window. But whenever I look at the window, it ducks and then looks at me again. Does anyone know what this fear is called? Please help.
Is this real? A phobia of seeing a face in the window? I have a paralyzing fear of looking up at my window and seeing a face, and often it's the thought of a grotesque or inhuman face that terrifies me to my core. This has kept me awake at night, too afraid to look at the window, but also too afraid to fall asleep in case someone or something is looking at me through the window. And I have a physical anxiety reaction, and I've had real panic attacks before, so I know how it feels. Related, but not quite as specific, I'm constantly terrified of turning around or opening my eyes to see a figure or face or some kind of Trevor Henderson-type creature. And sometimes, even when I'm sitting in the living room in the middle of the day, I turn around to check that there isn't something behind me, because I'll get the overwhelming feeling that there is. I thought it was just a generalized anxiety disorder thing, or just me being weird until, funnily enough, I was watching BuzzFeed Unsolved, and Ryan Bergara mentioned that he has a fear of seeing a face in the window. That's when I started wondering if this is a real phobia, but all my Google search turned up was nellophobia, fear of glass chalk windows.
Fear of intruders. Hello. For a while now, maybe the past decade, I've had this growing fear of intruders. People coming into my house or a house I'm familiar with being comfortable in, with the intentions to either harm me or my loved ones. It has not been easy to manage the anxiety that this fear gives me. Whenever I am in a house alone makes it worsen. I worry about not being able to protect myself, not quick enough, not smart enough. I worry about going to sleep at any time during the day or night sometimes because I'm left vulnerable. I was told recently that at least I might be asleep if they did KO me, but it brought me no comfort, and I retorted with I may be unlucky enough to wake up for it. I don't like going outside into my yard unless for random yard work. I avoid doing any kind of scheduled acts. I don't like anyone knowing about any kind of schedule I have. It isn't safe. I do not trust anyone until proven otherwise. I do not like leaving my back facing any doors. At the same time, I don't like leaving my back facing any windows. It's a lot of mental gymnastics to stay calm when my anxiety gets in this state. It isn't always as bad as it is tonight. Sometimes it is worse, though. Sometimes I only think once or twice about it and can continue with my night owlisms blissfully. Does anyone else experience this? Do you have any recommendations?
Fear of waking up in the pitch dark. I am by no means afraid of the dark. I am, however, terrified of waking up in the pitch black. I enjoy falling asleep in the pitch black, but not waking in it. Is there anything anyone can think of in terms of a phobia? Not saying everything has to be a phobia, just inquiring.
Constant fear of my house being broken into. Hey, I have no clue how to make this better. I have always had tons of anxiety about darkness and being alone, that kind of thing. My fear of being attacked in my sleep, my home being broken into, started when my father fired an employee when I was about 9 or 10. He hid in our bushes at night one time, right next to my window, apparently. My father felt like that was a good thing to tell a young child with diagnosed anxiety. It has gotten better and worse over the years, but for the most part, I have felt safe. Me and my partner moved into an apartment in a sort of bad, sort of good part of town about 6 months ago. I felt pretty safe until one night we heard our neighbor screaming. He screamed every night up until he got kicked out. He was an alcoholic and anything could set him off. This heightened my anxiety about being home alone. Then, about 3 months into us living here, a man on PCP climbed a story up to get on my neighbor's balcony and tried to assault her. This made it 1,000% worse. Pretty much what I'm asking is, how do I stop obsessing over every tiny noise my cats make at night and get good rest?
Does anyone know if this has a name? I am 14 and I live out in the country surrounded by forestry on all sides. I have an extreme irrational fear of constantly being hunted by a humanoid creature, waiting for me to be alone so it can kill me. Every night I have to lock my door and keep a pocket knife under my pillow at all times as my only way to cope with this fear. I have never seen a horror movie, as I refuse to watch them. If there is a name for it or for something closely related, please let me know.
I am still terrified of being alone in the dark and I'm sick of it. I've 24F been scared of the dark my whole life, to the point where I slept with the TV on all night or a lamp on for a lot of my childhood and adult years. If you've ever tried to sleep like this, you know it's so disruptive. I even got to the point as a teen where I slept on the couch in the living room all through high school so I could have the TV on and be closer to my parents. Now, I have a partner who I share a bed with, and I use a nightlight with a self-timer, so it turns off after I fall asleep. I thought it would get better having someone with me, but it's still there. I travel for work basically every week and stay in hotels and leave the light on or TV and sleep like shit. I don't feel like I'm getting enough sleep, and it's affecting my job and life. I don't think about this problem often, but last night I came home from the airport and immediately wanted to go to bed. I passed out, and my partner came in and turned off the lights, and I sprung up and yelled at him, "No, no, 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 please don't." I felt crazy. I guess I thought I was making progress, but apparently not. I don't think I have any trauma from my childhood other than watching scary movies before bed. My grandma, who lived with us when I was a kid, was somewhat clairvoyant, and she scared me a lot with spooky stuff she did and said. But I can't think of anything else that could be underlining. How do I self-soothe without doing exposure therapy just yet? I don't think I'm ready for that. Any help, advice, or even someone who can relate would be nice. Thanks, friends. I'm sick of being scared. It seems illogical and childish, right?
Well, I can't say I have any advice, but my heart does go out to these poor peeps. Of course, if you have anything you might be able to say to help, totally consider heading over to the phobia subreddit. Just don't forget that these are real fears these folks have, so always remember to be kind and polite. On the other hand, if you'd like to stick around for more weird and or scary but totally real phobias, we've got more stories coming your way. So subscribe and just stick around. You wouldn't believe some of the strange stuff we've got in store for you next.